Thanks a lot for inviting us to present the ELIXIR, the Swiss ELIXIR node. I'm Lucy Poveda. I'm the Scientific Relations Manager at the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics, and as part of this role, I'm the node coordinator of the Swiss node. I have invited three speakers to present different aspects of our node. But before we dive into the speakers, maybe next slide, please. I'd like to present just a quick overview on what is it that we talk about when we're talking about the Swiss node. So it is a single entity node, and its legal entity is SIB, the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics, which was created in 1998. And this was actually enabling the development of the Swiss resource, which was later gone known as UniProt. So we are a non-profit organization, and it's an independent institution. And although from the outside, the Swiss ELIXIR node is seen as a single entity node, the complexity of our system is much greater, because we've got about 900 scientists in our network in 14 different cities. And from those, about 200 are employees, and we're in 4 different locations. So we're truly distributed across the entire geography. So my first speaker will be Marie Dangles. So next slide, please. Who is part of the executive management team and is in charge of the internal and external relations at SIB. And I have asked her to give an overview on the operations of SIB, its structure, and also the activities we're involved in, as well as the challenges that we also face as a research infrastructure. So please, Marie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucy. Good afternoon, everybody. I have the difficult task to present you SIB, but I'd like to begin with the vision that we try to convey to all our stakeholders, and you're part of them. So at SIB, we really believe that expertise with life science data is key to solving many of the world's most pressing challenges, be them preserving biodiversity, ensuring food security, or improving health. So this vision is really guiding our mission, which is threefold. We advance bioinformatics thanks to in-depth understanding of biological data through the use of cutting-edge technologies and through the participation or setting up of interdisciplinary collaborations. The second point of our mission is to provide researchers and clinicians with outstanding resources, services, and training to accelerate innovation. And the third one is about federating and representing the Swiss bioinformatics community and to foster a culture of scientific excellence and collaboration. And at the end of the day, to maintain Switzerland as one of the top innovative countries in the world. So this is done, to pursue our mission, we rely on our national network that represents, as Lucy said, about 900 scientists into 91 groups. And these scientists are based either at SIB Hub or at our 28 partner institutions. And these institutions are actually the major academic and research organizations of the country. When I speak about SIB Hub, that's where the employees are based. Most of the employees are based, and I'm going to explain you why right after. And they are in 4 locations, most of the time based in the premises of our partner institutions. So we're not organized as a consortium or an association. We're a full-fledged organization. I'm going to show you what it means, to which extent we're really independent from our partner institutions, but relying on them. So we like to say that we're anchored into the Swiss science ecosystem, and we're collaborative by design. And that's where the governance come into play. So our foundation council is the highest authority of the institute. It has supervisory powers. And this council is made up of representatives of our partner institutions. So this ensures that we are really aligned with the needs and expectations of the Swiss ecosystem, let's say. And so responsibilities of this body include the changes in SIB statutes, nomination of group leaders, approval of the budget and the financial reports. Then we have the board of directors, sorry. So here it's made up of 5 people. 2 are group leaders elected by their peers to represent them. 2 persons are from outside of SIB network, and 1 is the executive director. So here you can see the picture of Christophe, who is as well the head of node for ELIXIR. We have here on the side the Scientific Advisory Board. It is here to advise the board of directors, in particular for the funding allocation of biodata resources and the services that we provide. And here we have about 7 members from the international community. Then below you have the Council of Group Leaders. So this is made up of group leaders, as its name says it. And this is where all matters related to the national network are discussed. We see here topics related to national scientific projects, to focus groups, to events for the community. And this is the CGL also, which votes for new group leaders to let them in the network and elects the representatives to the board. And finally, the SIB board hub, sorry. This is where our executive management team is located, but also the internal groups and the support functions. So it's about 150 employees, which you can see here. So these are the internal groups, about 109 employees into 6 groups. I'm gonna just name them quickly. So we have a group dedicated to knowledge bases, which is Swissprot, operating the very famous Uniprot. We have the clinical bioinformatics groups, mainly dedicated to hospitals and SMEs. We have the training group. Patricia is going to tell you more about that. We have the personalized health informatics groups, which is dedicated to the coordination of clinical research data sharing. We have the computational biology group, Vital IT, more focused on data management, data analysis, mainly in large European projects, but not only, and the environmental bioinformatics, dedicated to biodiversity preservation through data harmonization and sharing. Then below you have the support functions, and that's quite common in an institution like ours. But on top of their basic activities to support the whole organization, many of these teams also partner in scientific projects as participants in work packages to ensure their expertise is fully used to the benefit of our projects. And you can see here the biodata resources, which is a team coordinating and sharing best practices among our resources. Then you have 50 employees, which are part of mixed group, as we call them, and that's what Lucy was referring to when saying that our organization can be seen as complex as well, is that affiliated groups, so it means the groups that are completely part of our partner institutions, can also welcome SIB employees. and it's the case for 14 of them. And most of these employees co-develop the biodata resources that are stemming from these groups. So that's about it for the general organization of SIB. Now I'm gonna dive into the activities of our institute. So we have three pillars of activities. The first one is the biodata resources, which is in fact the provision of open data, open knowledge, and software tools to the broad life science community. The second topic is the Center of Excellence. So as part of this Center of Excellence, we provide services to academia, hospitals, and in the industry in Switzerland and abroad. And the third pillar of activities is the coordination one, in which we enable collaborations and synergies across institutions, across disciplines, and across borders. And how are these activities funded? Well, you can see here on that chart very quickly what we can derive from this figure is that we have a total income of about 35 million euros last year, for in 2024. One third is coming from competitive grants. So you can see from NIH, Europe, and Switzerland, but also from services and collaborations that we develop with partners. You can also see that our three activity pillars are mostly equally funded. So you can see the importance of them is balance. And three quarters of our expenses are devoted to personal costs. You can have a detailed look at this chart in the C profile or on the website if you like. Okay, so now just a quick view on the activities. So for the open database and software tools, I'm gonna go very quickly because you're gonna see these slides with Christophe more in details right after. I'm gonna jump to the Center of Excellence just to list of the services that we provide to the community. So it goes from biostatistics, bioinformatics analysis, to data stewardship, data management, verification of data, integration, software and platform development, knowledge representation, training, and sensitive data sharing. And we use these services as part of different types of projects and domains. So our SIB internal groups are leading or involved in over 22 collaborations and service agreements and over 20 competitive grants. I've listed here a few examples of the scientific topics that we address through these projects. So it goes from enabling precision oncology to preventing childhood obesity. I'll let you see the list. When we go also to more technical topics like building a secure genomic data repository, the Swiss FIGA, or collaborating to advance the European Open Science Cloud. The third pillar of activity is the coordination one. So the purpose of which is really to maximize the impact of our projects and investments made by developing the common standards, by reducing duplications, facilitating collaborations in Switzerland and abroad. And I've taken just two examples of what we do in this activity. The first one is about clinical research data. So I've named SPHN before. So SIB is coordinating Switzerland's secure network of trusted research environments to process health-related data. So that's the Biomed IT network. And jointly with the Swiss Academy of Medical Sciences, we operate the Swiss Personalized Health Network, which purpose is to enable nationwide use and exchange of health data for research. So you have the two logos here and much more on the web to look for. The second example I've taken is about the pathogen data. So we've launched at the beginning of this year a Center for Pathogen Bioinformatics, which is an ecosystem of tools, databases, and experts that work on the genomic surveillance of any pathogen of concern. And our aim here is really to provide the federal authorities, so in Switzerland, and also other public authorities abroad, with data-driven insights to prepare for the next epidemics and to manage those epidemics that could come. So it's based on SIB resources like Nextstrain, VPipe, or SPSP. And apart from this center is also the Pathogen Data Network project. This is an international project funded by the NIH, which is led from this group as well. Okay, so I come to the end of my presentation and just would like to name a few challenges that we have as any organization in SIB and how we try to tackle them. So the first one is how to promote data infrastructure and why. So the first point is we need to secure long-term funding and the participation in strategic projects. And that's why we try to position SIB as the Swiss Institute of Reference for biological data, science, and infrastructure. The second point is to convince policymakers of our relevance, because we are convinced and many of our partners are convinced of that. So we want to build recognition on our impact on society and our impact on the international visibility of Switzerland. And the third point is really to attract collaborations and talents to join SIB. And that's where we need to reinforce SIB brand and awareness and reputation on quality data resources and on the quality of our services. So we want to promote our data infrastructure to most of our stakeholders, being the funders, the scientific opinion leaders, the scientific communities of users, bioinformaticians, and that in Switzerland and internationally in the private and public setting. So we use, of course, the usual suspects of communications, from press relations to digital communications, but always with a content focus. Second challenge is how to engage a wide and growing network. And so here we really believe that with such a large network, we have to provide a very large range of activities that can fit anyone's needs and available time. So it goes from participating into the events and internal gatherings that we organize, to participating in SIB-led scientific projects, participating in the awards committee, giving a training course, organizing or participating in SIB's annual conferences, so be it the Basel Computational Biology Conference or the SIB Days every year in a row. And the last topic is the focus groups. And here you see with all these activities, we're not trying to recreate structures of ELIXIR, but rather complementing them and enriching them. And I'd like just to take a minute to list the focus groups that we have. So these are bottom-up initiatives to advance capacities in hot topics for our national network. So it's really stemming from our network. And so we can see here, for example, AI models for biomolecules focus group, or the semantic web of data, single cell mix focus group. So it's quite large. Also, we have a diversity focus group. It's quite large and not overlapping with anything existing at ELIXIR. And so that's, yes, we have also this brochure that explains to our members how they can benefit from SIB the most, from the support function or from the network itself. And that's where I can come to the third challenge that we've identified, is how to maintain and develop essential biodata resources when public funding is under constraint. And that's where I'm gonna leave the floor to Christophe. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, everyone, for joining this call. So yeah, it's a pleasure to tell you a little bit more about the evolving role of these data resources. I mean, which I think many of you also know in your own countries. And indeed, I mean, it's been a difficult time because the funding has been under pressure. And so I wanted to give a lens of a little bit more detail about the situation in Switzerland, but also kind of how this connects to these broader challenges for also for Europe and actually for the world, but also the position of Europe in this. So maybe next slide, Marie. So Marie already mentioned this is one of our three pillars, these open resources. You can go ahead. There's a few animations. So the key point there is that this is a portfolio that is feeding from activities happening within Switzerland. We're across the entire network, having a call every 4 years to evaluate emerging, but also still the existing resource. And then we invest actually the biggest part of our core funding into these resources because they really have very few other ways of being sustained. And this is really an investment that is, of course, important for Switzerland, but it's Switzerland's contribution to a global ecosystem. So these are all open resources. Some of them are developed also as part of more global consortia. Yeah, it is a substantial investment. But we think it's very worthwhile. This is reflected also then in like a lot of usage, some impact certainly like within science, but also we see impact also for innovation. I think once the trust is established and these resources remain kind of a stable part of the global ecosystem, I think it's also then increasingly relied upon by other resources, by researchers. And we see also with more and more interdisciplinary research and now AI, there's really a need to integrate trustworthy information for which you may not have the expertise to otherwise interpret yourself, and therefore you really need some trustworthy provider. And I did want to mention as a last point that this resource, I mean, SIB was created actually to sustain what I mean now is known as Uniprot, but the Swissprot's part of Uniprot, which had a funding crisis in 1998, and so now 27 years later, actually, okay, we are still been facing many other funding crises along the way. But I mean, in a way, that was really kind of the main motivation to establish SIB. As Marie showed previously, there's been other tasks that have been addressed, but I think that's really at the core of our mission. And I did want to mention maybe on this next slide that here I focus on our portfolio of SIB resources who are getting actually this investment, the co-investment together with the research funds that are held by the groups that are where these resources are anchored. But it's part of a much broader ecosystem. So as you know, many groups are developing resources as part of their research work. We try to keep track of like the ones that are actively maintained in the Exposé portal here at the base of the pyramid. And then those that for which there's really a strong commitment are listed as part of the ELIXIR Switzerland service delivery plan. And from this pool, actually, people can then try to apply for support as part of our process, and it's highly competitive, and only a minority will get some support. And then obviously there's also some recognition for some particular resources at the ELIXIR and the Global Biodata Coalition level. The definitions are not completely overlapping. So for instance, we support what we call resource, also encompass some software tools, whereas maybe the core data resource and the GCBR have a bit of a narrower lens. But in any case, so next slide. So actually, there's three things I wanted to mention that are tied with a lot of the work that is happening at the European level and also these funding challenges. So as Marie already pointed out, we really need to explain the value to the different stakeholders of these data resources. It's so obvious to researchers, to bioinformaticians, to life scientists, but unfortunately, it's much less obvious as soon as you get outside of this environment. And so one of the main success, I think, of the last decades, and that has been really driven very much forward by also the ELIXIR communities, the notion of fair data. So obviously, I'm not going to tell you much about this, but if I take a step back, actually, in our view, the verification process is one of trying to make the data more democratic, like usable outside of the places where it's been generated. So can you click forward? Yeah, so basically we go from data produced in a specific context in silo with relatively little added value. It's maybe used for one research finding, and then we need to get to a position where it's been organized, linked, cleaned up, vetted, such that it's also understandable and reusable by all, including, of course, AI today. And that really multiplies the value. So it's all about this verification process. But the point we're making in this particular paper is that it's not just the guidelines and the cookbooks and the training that help us get there. We also should take into account the role of curators, the people whose job is actually to enable this process and cannot really just rely on researchers. I think an important message. The second point is also to try to, yeah, you can get to the next slide, is to get a bit more buy-in from funders. I think the funders, they've often had like a bit of a love-hate relationship with infrastructure. They see this as like long-term commitments that maybe eat up like their resources, and they see often that they should really favor kind of more, let's say, investigator-led science. But we think, and this year also has been an important message or some work that has been done in the context also of the data platform to make the funders more aware that actually the data resources are core to their mission. So it is essential if funders have embraced FAIR as like a core principle, and why shouldn't they? Of course, it's obvious to all of us that it's much more efficient to reuse existing data rather than producing new ones. And with knowledge, it's even more costly if we ignore existing knowledge and then just reinvent the wheel. So that's core to the mission. And we're making the point that the resources are really enabling this. And so, but more fundamentally, it's not just enabling the reuse, it's also enabling new research, because quite often data-intensive research depends on these large data sets. And in fact, also, especially going back to the role of curators, when extracting information and data from the literature to, say, for instance, do some annotation using ontologies, you can argue this is actually part of the consensus and synthesis process that is at the heart of the scientific method. So this is actually really doing things also, producing new knowledge, and also really important for the knowledge dissemination, which is the point that was already mentioned. And also another point that maybe has been underappreciated, perhaps some of you have heard of COARA. This is a principle that has been signed up by many funders and institutions you remember DORA, that was about it's not just like the high impact papers that matter in science. COARA is saying it's not just the papers that matter, it's also all the work that enables that. And in a way, developing these resources is really a critical part of the scientific process. And so resources are not expenditures to the detriment of new research, as it's been sometimes put. Okay, next slide. And then finally, also with the instability in the US, but also the very big, who's been historically really a strong contributor to the ecosystem of data resources, but also all these new investment and the panic around, Europe's competitiveness around AI within ELIXIR, and also catalyzed by some discussion also within among the head of nodes with the hub. There was this position paper that was produced this summer. I want really to draw your attention on this because I think it's quite a short paper, but it makes really quite forceful points. The importance of open biodata resource for Europe. So the first notion, which I already mentioned earlier, that it's a foundation for life science innovation. The resource, they really enable kind of larger, richer, more accurate, more consistent data, and that will just produce new knowledge faster and more reliably. So then the second point is, we see all this big investment in the AI factories, the AI gigafactories, all these, the AI Act, all of the panic now also around, not being left behind the US and China. But actually, if we really want to reach this potential, we should not just think of compute, but also the data that is going to be feeding AI. And without high quality, kind of curated, interoperable data, it's clear that all these flagship AI initiatives, they will not deliver on their full potential. And actually, if we look at the amounts of money that are invested in the hardware versus, let's just say, the data, there's a huge imbalance. I mean, in a way, we are not asking to get the same amount, but I mean, just slight better kind of balance. Then the third point, I think it's really important now. We hear this topic also within Switzerland. I'm sure you hear it also abroad, is the notion of sovereignty. We've seen also since COVID, there's a part of this movement a little bit towards more looking inwards. That is not just in the US, it's also in many other countries. And we want to make the point that sovereignty does not mean isolation. In fact, you are not going to be, for data, okay, let me backtrack. It's legitimate that data be viewed as a strategic resource, just like medicine and like food and energy. So that's fine. But actually, it has different properties. And if we just hoard data, we're actually not going to be more, defend European sovereignty. What we need is to, on the one hand, strengthen Europe's role as a net data contributor so that, kind of through leadership, we will have, first, we can disseminate data that is kind of curated with our high standards, data that is reliable and that can, also defend our accuracy and also open values, but also the value of data is also lies in this connectedness. And so if we just, if we are net contributors, others are going to align also to our data. And then the other point is that sovereignty is actually also having the skills to interpret this data. And so it's really important to think about the skilled workforce. And they're also, we're going to talk about training in a second. And the fourth point, this is also something that is a bit of an opportunity, is that actually we see in this kind of a bit less multilateral world that the data provides really an opportunity for Europe to stand out. It's almost like a geopolitical asset. Gives Europe an opportunity to lead in a particular area where there's really some legitimacy actually to be ahead of time. And frankly, among us, it's also pretty inexpensive opportunity compared to, I don't know, lead in terms of energy or some other areas. So I think this is all in the paper. I really recommend having a look. It's quite short. And so I have the three references. In the next slides, I want to also acknowledge like some really key people who've helped in this effort, but of course it's like a lot has been done through ELIXIR, different groups, and these are some of the references. And I think we can move to training.
Yes, thank you very much. So SIB, so at SIB, we participate a lot of the activities within ELIXIR at all levels, whether it's the scientific, technology, the node and people tier, so platforms, communities, and focus groups. And I asked Patricia to present now and to give an overview on her activities, both at the SIB and within ELIXIR as well, and also how she is equipping the upcoming generation of trainers. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Lucy. So to start, thank you very much for this. It's a pleasure to be here also talking about training. Also, as Christophe said, is a very important part of what we do. So the mission that we have at the SIB Training Group is that we deliver hands-on training by expert scientists to accelerate innovation in data-intensive life and health sciences. Nationally, we complement the CIS education landscape with timely and specialized courses that meet the needs of a fast-evolving field. And we strive to adopt and contribute to best practice in bioinformatics training worldwide. This is also how very much what we contribute with the ELIXIR training platform and what we do in there as well. So the vision that we have is that the SIB training ensures that Switzerland, Europe, and the world maintains a highly skilled workforce in the increasingly data-intensive life and health sciences. So this is what we have for the mission. So who are we? We are a small but beautiful training group. We have about 11 people today. The expertise that we have, we are trainers and training coordinators. We are a distributed team. We have people in Lausanne, Bern, Basel, and Zurich. And this is the picture that we have for the team, and some are not there. We had a retreat recently, but not everybody could be there. So next slide. So what we do in terms of training in numbers, we do courses, of course, and what we do is per year, we do more than 60 courses per year, gathering over 1,400 participants. And the audience that come to our courses, they come from their PhDs, postdocs, the majority, 70% of the people attending our courses are from these roles, but we also have PIs, technicians, and staffs from groups, diverse groups, in life science, in bioinformatics, and life science in general. The majority of the people attending our courses are from academia, 96%, but we also have collaborations with the industry, and some people from there as well come to our courses. And the majority of the people attending our courses are from Switzerland, but we also have a lot of people now coming, almost 30% of people from Europe attending our courses, and also from other places worldwide as well. And the trainers who teach in our courses, the majority of the courses that we do, they are done by the core team, the people that I showed you in the picture. But we have also a lot of people from SIB, all the other groups that are delivering training as well, and also many people from ELIXIR and other places as well, not only ELIXIR, but outside of ELIXIR as well. So it's a huge collaboration and gathering of many experts from many different places at a time. So next slide, please. So everything that we do about training is open and fair. So we have been developing fair training materials for a while now. From the past courses that we have, at least 58% of the materials are online in our website, so anyone can take and reuse or be inspired by them. They are also available on Glitter, a platform that gathers all the GitHub repos doing with training materials from SIB, but not only. There are many other institutions providing GitHub repos for training as well in Glitter, so you can find a lot of information there. We have been working also as well on e-learning modules. We have developed 14 modules so far. They complement the training materials and the courses that we have. And we have been developing also learning paths. We have been working on four learning paths. This is work in progress, and we hope to show them to the world pretty soon before the end of the year. So this is what we have been doing. The topics that we have, we touch a lot of topics in bioinformatics. in programming, for example, related to usually Python or Unix or version control with Git, GPU parallelization. We have a lot of courses also in Python, diverse types as well, beginners, intermediate, and else. We have a lot of courses in R as well, in different topics of R, statistics and machine learning, and also a lot on data analysis as well, on NGS, long read, transcriptomics, proteomics, enrichment, metabolomics, multiomics, etc. Lots of that. On data management as well, verification of data, management of data, and a lot of other topics that are also taught by many colleagues from SIB and elsewhere. For example, best practice in programming, Bayesian stats, biodiversity, bioinformatics, immunology, large language models as well from other groups, SIB resources as well, those that Christophe has talked about, SQL, and many others. So this to give you an idea of what we have been doing training. So the history of the SIB training group is totally related to ELIXIR and the ELIXIR training platform. The group was created at the same time as ELIXIR, and so we have been growing together with ELIXIR since 2013. I was one of the first training platform excos together with Chris Ponte and Celia for the first training platform that existed in 2013. And since then, I've been working to promoting the flagship training platform projects, for example, TESS, the training metrics database, the bioschemas, profiles in training, fair training materials. We have been working a lot on that. And the ELIXIR Goblet Train the Trainer. I'm leading that project since the beginning of that together with Allegra. So we have been steering all the products of ELIXIR, the ELIXIR training platform. We have been testing, implementing, and adopting them. Everything that we do in this SIB training, you can find them in TESS. You can find our data in the ELIXIR metrics database. We implement fair training using the bioschemas profiles, and we do a lot of train-the-trainer courses to our people in the SIB, our trainers, but also anyone else on ELIXIR and elsewhere now as well. So we really walk the talk of ELIXIR. Next. So as a training coordinator, also since 2013, I have been leading and participating in different projects that there is a training component. Accelerate was the first one, Converge years by COVID, PDNs together with, so a NIH-funded project, now EOSC as well, and many other projects. So we make sure that whenever there is a project that is an European project or something else, we make sure the training is part of this because we think it is important to make capacity building as well. We have been building and sustaining relationships as well through SIB, ELIXIR, but other international associations like ISCB, Goblet, and back as well. Everything that happens elsewhere, we try to implement at SIB and also bring what we have been implementing and thinking at SIB training, we bring to those communities as well. So we make sure that no one's left behind and everybody's connected to this. We have been trying also to influence nationally or internationally with training efforts in open science, for example, in Switzerland, with projects with Swiss universities and the network of the Swiss data stewardship, for example, but also about fair data, fair training. Recently, we were in Brazil with colleagues from Belgium to bring the train-the-trainer courses and RDM courses as well. And there were people from Latin America as well. This week, we are teaching the train-the-trainer with many colleagues from Africa as well, teaching also the ELIXIR courses for them as well. So this next slide. Since the many years, so since 2013, when I started this and the small group that we had, we could see most of the time it was my face being seen everywhere. And I have been trying to change the way that we have been doing this by managing a transition, because this is now going to go on YouTube now, but everybody knows that I'm retiring now in less than 2 years. And I'm trying to make this leadership in training move from one person to many in the SIB. So next slide, please. So I have been working with all the team in the SIB training group to make everyone present also in diverse communities. For example, Diana is working in the single cell community now, bringing training that as well. Valeria is in the biodiversity community and also teaching the trainer. Vandril is working together with many colleagues from ELIXIR to do courses in machine learning and has been teaching the trainer as well. Grégoire in the RDN community, Monique in the learning focus group and the fair training focus group as well. And Gert now also leading the fair training focus group and also became recently the deputy training coordinator. So he's also ready to take over the training coordination from Sütler pretty soon, whenever I leave or even before that. So all the people from SIB training group, the majority of them at least, are integrated in the diverse projects of the ELIXIR so that they are equipped to become part of that. So next slide and last one. So this has been I've been trying to work in the mentoring mindset, trying to promote, then empower the people in the team to take ownership and control of what they have been doing, the projects that where they are involved. So whenever I leave, they are going to be ready to take over. Trying to build confidence as well, so that they can lead programs and effectively lead people as well in the now and in the future. Fostering the innovation, try to make everybody on board, also critically think and take action on everything that we have been doing in training, and developing a strong leadership network, the same way that I had mine, everybody else in the training group should have one as well. And this is what I have been promoting with everyone in the SIB training group, in ELIXIR as well, also in the training platform, because it's also some of the projects that I'm leading today, others are going to lead where I leave. So I have been, thanks to Christophe, I have been reading this book, The Turn the Ship Around by David Market. And it's a very, very interesting book that I have been trying to apply in this process of transferring this knowledge and equipping others in the team to take over when I leave. And that's what the message that I have for the moment. Thank you so much. And thank you all for your attention.